This whole concept of terrible twos is fundamentally problematic. Now, before we get into this, I want to just say this one thing. Let us separate the experience of the child from the experience of the parents for a moment. If we're talking about how the age of 2 becomes terrible for parents, as in that's how it feels, that is the experience, I can acknowledge that, and that is okay. Let's separate that to the side for a second, though. So we're all okay with that. Okay, guys, I've acknowledged the stress. Okay? Now let's talk about the children. Because first things first, as somebody who, honestly, at this stage, I feel understands children way better than a lot of people. I'll be so honest. Every time we villainize things, a lot of times we're villainizing things about children that is actually part of a fundamental part of their growth in becoming the exact type of adults you want them to become. So, for example, as a parent, you would want your child one day to be, able to live a good, happy, healthy, stable life for themselves, right? That requires a number of skills. One of those skills is being inquisitive, being a critical thinker, you know what I'm saying? Understanding your surroundings, emotional regulation. I'd just like to announce to the public and to the adult population that at the age of 2, guess what? They've only been here for 2 times 365 or 364 and a quarter days. So guess what? They don't know a lot. They're just realizing for the first time and starting to see and understand what it means to even be alive and understand alive as a concept. They have feelings that they don't understand. They have questions about literally everything. But instead of us, the adult population, being understanding towards that, we villainize it. As soon as they've gone from these little balls of flesh that you just get to hold and kiss and change, and everybody going, oh, isn't it so beautiful to be a mom? Once that dust is settled, once your little honeymoon period is over, now you actually got to be a freaking parent. Now they are terrible. Isn't that so? Does that just say so much about society? It's just say so much about. So I'm saying we need to stop having kids. I think we need to stop having children, guys. Seriously. Listen, I know the Bible said be fruitful, multiply, but he meant that for people that actually wanted to love and look after their kids and not just, because obviously prior to that, all you had to do is make sure that they had food, they were fed, their clothes on their backs and a roof over their head, isn't it? Just like the same you would do for a dog. But of course, that's the standard of parenting. If you've done that, oh, tick, you're good. You're one of the best. You're a Hall of Famer. You're the real MVP. No, listen, as a teacher, one of the things that I realized was that we as the adult population have an inability to critically think. Now, obviously, I now understand more and more now that I did the research about the whole lobotomy thing. Go and check out that video where I'm realizing now that, so if you don't just do what you're told to do without asking questions, you're a problem and you're wrong. That's what we've been taught in society. That's literally what we have historically in the last at least 100 years or so, 150 years, maybe 200 years. That's been the thing. You just fall in line and you just listen just because. And if you don't, you're problematic. Let me tell you something. The most intelligent people in the world are the people that don't care about that. The people that keep asking questions anyway, because this is where when they start to get to us, they can start asking questions. Because a lot of kids, people don't realize that even babies, like when they're super young, they can actually understand quite a lot because they still have the same cues that the rest of us do. They can see their surroundings. They can feel the energy spaces. They've also been technically here to some degree, albeit inside your stomach. But, I had to do this. I spent a whole year studying about like the development of the baby in the womb because I did this whole long paper for religious education at school, because basically we had this thing where it was supposed to take like your GCSE exams, so the ones we do at 16, you're supposed to take 2 years. You're supposed to take 2 years to learn everything, and then you do exams, whatever. But then some of us got put on a fast track because they thought we could do it quicker and get it done in a year. So we did. We got it all done in a year, which means the second year we got to basically choose any topic we wanted of certain topics and research it for a full entire year. So that was insane. I'm so grateful that for whatever reason, I had no reason at the time. I don't know why I decided to look into that, but that's what I decided to look into. So that's why I know a lot about the development of the baby in the womb, a lot about like abortion and all of that, because that's what I spent a whole entire year working on a paper about that. Right. And I got an A, just to say. But yeah, so they can understand a lot of things like from quite early on already, like from the womb. That's why it's encouraged, to talk to your baby, to do this. They're already getting used to hearing your voice all of the time. I believe that's one of the reasons why babies feel very comfortable in their mother's arms in general, because they're used to always being with her. Anyway, right, inside her, you know what I'm saying? Way better, I'm sure, in the womb than out here, for sure. It's got to be. But anyway, I digress. So they are much more aware, first of all, than you think they are, a lot sooner. And there's a lot of studies that have been done to show that babies are so much more capable. They're born capable of doing so much more than you think and aware of so much what you think. Their physical body just hasn't quite developed maybe as much, and they need the time to do it. Hence why you have to leave them to do certain tasks, like things like climbing. They have to build up they don't even have kneecaps. Isn't that so cute? Anyway, they have to build up certain skills that you just have to let them do. That's why there's a lot of like, you just got to let them, if they're trying to climb something, let them climb it. If they're trying to do something like building motor skills, something as simple as just pouring something, right? It might be a terrible moment for you as a parent, but it's a fundamentally important moment for them, like developmentally, because they need to learn the skills. They need to build up the muscles in their fingers. They need to learn the dexterity. They need to, work on their like proprioception and all those types of things. So they need to be able to have these things to be able to to develop as kids, right? So there's that part of it, right? They have to start now learning about emotions and why is it. You as an adult, like if I start to feel upset, the reason why I don't just burst into tears every time I'm upset is because over time I've learned the skill of how to control and regulate my emotions, as in maybe in this exact moment it is not appropriate for me to completely burst into tears. You know what I'm saying? I need to regulate that. Guess what? That comes with time and experience and patience. And this is why I have no absolute interest whatsoever in human relationships whatsoever, because I'm like, the reason why I have the relationship I have with the Lord is because the Lord is very patient with me and he understands that I'm doing my very best. I'm doing the very best to do things in the right and proper way, and sometimes I'm going to get it wrong, and that's okay. He makes that space to say, you know what, sometimes you are going to get it wrong, but that's okay, because you just try and you just do your best. This is why I love the Lord. The Lord has so much patience and time for us. That's why we're his children, and we never graduate to be the adults of the Lord. We're always the children of God, because we are his children in whom he's like, look, you're giving me a headache. You're giving me a headache, but I love you, and I understand that as your parent or as any type of person that's looking after you, doesn't have to be parents, across the board, anybody, the should be the village doesn't exist anymore, obviously, the village actual thing. But I'm talking about in the West. There's there's places in the world where they really very much do operate like a village, and shout out to them. Right? And then us in the West think that we know better somehow. And we're all, people here are isolated and alone, and now we're creating AI robots because apparently teenagers and people are lonely. It's crazy. Anyway, even though we can all access the entirety of the world on our devices as we speak, as you are listening to me. Crazy. Anyway, so that's just from a developmental standpoint. A lot of the chaos and recklessness of children is necessary. And the more they're allowed to do it, the quicker they're going to grow in doing things. That's why you'll see that if you go to places like even in China, if you see the types of tasks they get kids to do at a young age, their kids develop a lot quicker, purely simply for the fact they've been given the opportunity. In the same way, parents that patiently talk to their children as not just as if they're like little babies, but talk to them as people, those children learn how to speak and are more eloquent and have a stronger vocabulary a lot more quickly, because they're getting the opportunity, right? Because that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be creating. All we're supposed to do is create the safe boundaries, guidelines, discipline, wisdom, right? Like nurturing a plant. That's how I look at it. You got to nurture a plant. When you nurture a plant, you're letting the plant grow, but you're within reason. You know what I mean? You're making sure, like, you might put, I don't know how you call this, where you put like the sticks in the, like, you like attach sticks to plants to help them to grow in a certain way. Or you might, what's that word? You might prune them. You know what I mean? You water them whatever you do. I'm not a expert in that area, although I would love to understand a lot more about that. I'm sure it would give me so many biblical revelations just from understanding more, right? Because wisdom is in creation itself. But anyway, yeah, so you know what I'm saying? You're just supposed to create the environment to allow them to grow, right? And be patient for them when they don't have patience for themselves, right? Because they're still figuring it out. This is why I'm like, how can they have been in the world for not even 1,000 days and you're already calling them terrible? And also, if that's your perspective that far, that soon, how much more is your attitude? Because the thing is, kids can feel, and I noticed this as well as a teacher, one of the biggest struggles, and it happens the older kids get, the harder this thing is to overcome, is they get to the point where they're so worried about being, not wrong is wrong, the wrong word. They're so worried about getting things wrong the first time, or trying to get things right the first time, that they can't allow themselves the process of, it's okay, we'll just try again, right? So I do that with all the time with kids. Like, I'm teaching them something and I'll ask them a question and they'll be panicking because they're upset, not because they don't have an idea of an answer. They're scared that if they don't give the right answer first, they're going to be punished in some way. Either that means that they're not smart because they didn't write it the first time. That means that they're annoying me because they didn't get it right the first time. No, that's how you learn. You learn because you have to practice and you try and you try again and you try again. We all do this. And somehow when it's us as the adults, we can give ourselves all the understanding, right? You know, parents will say, you know, the first child is like the guinea pig, but by the last child, you know, you understand what to do things a lot better and it's a lot easier. Or like, the first time I ever tried to drive a car, I almost crashed in my first lesson, whatever. But now, you know, I'm a really great driver. Like, you can apply that logic to yourself. But when it's a child who's literally not even been on the planet for even 1,000 days yet, right? Not even 1,000 days. And somehow, like, they're just waking up, like they don't even know what's happening, right? They were in this lovely warm sack, going around, all their nutrients was coming straight to them. They did not have to lift a finger, right? And they're pushed out into this hellhole, into this horror show, right? I would come out crying as well. I'm sure, I don't know if I did cry immediately when it came out. No wonder. Because this place is horrific, this place, right? And then you now are, you know, being fed, whatever, but now you're also discovering things, because before you couldn't see anything. Now you have eyes. Oh, there's things. And so then now when they start asking you questions like, why? This is why you guys are destroying the critical thinking in your own children. You're making it harder for them from the beginning. If we don't understand that, them asking why, that's how they understand. This is what I do with the Lord. This is why I like the Lord. I ask God why about everything. I'm like, God, why this? Why? I ask God why about everything. That's why we have the relationship we do. Because anything that I don't understand, I ask. And he doesn't always answer me immediately. But he acknowledges that I'm asking. And he allows me the room to ask. And a lot of times, he takes me on a whole journey to get me to the answer of my question. As you guys would have seen, I was asking the Lord, how did we get here? How did we actually get here? And then we spent together like about 2 years, essentially, of me obsessing over Adam and Eve, which led me to so many of the things I'm saying now, because God was like, I'm going to answer you. Here's why. Maybe other people didn't bother to ask why, because we don't ask why anymore, because again, it's another thing I see with the kids. I'm like, they didn't get something, and I asked them why. They give me an answer, they did this. Okay, and why did you do it? I don't know. Okay, well, come back to me when you figured out why you did that then. Because there's no use, like, the thing is, in order for us to develop well, right, this is how people, like, all of these top jobs that people think are, like, the ones for the intelligent, these are the people that are critical thinkers. You have to think critically, you have to think for yourself, you have to ask why. Why does that do this? Why does that do this? This is why, like, again, engineers, a lot of people who end up in engineering as a kid, they were picking everything, they were taking everything apart. Why were they taking everything apart? Because they wanted to know what was going on inside. How does this fit together with that? And how did that fit together with this? And how did this fit together with that? And how did that fit together with this? Now, to you as a parent, that's obviously a headache, because, like, why have you taken apart X, Y, Z? To them, they're building their brain is strengthening. They're working their brain muscles. They're figuring it out. Even if it's doing stuff that they're not supposed to do, like you tell them, don't do this. They're like, well, I want to see what happens if I do that. Because how do I know? And again, even in doing that, They now learn their lesson. You don't have to be all like, ha ha ha, and you see whatever. It's just like, okay, see, this is why we listen. This is why we listen to our, you know what I mean? This is why we do this. Because now you didn't follow the instructions. Now you figured out what's gone, what happened, and now you know why you need to do this. We gotta leave, like, I don't know why it seems like it to be such, like, I honestly believe that because we now live in a society where, like, parenting is as much as you put food on the table, roof over your head, clothes on your back, take you to school, bring you back, and then at 18, absolve myself of any responsibility for you. That's why I feel like people are having kids still. Because if people are supposed to parent the way that I understood parenting from the Bible, people wouldn't be having kids the way they're having kids these days. Because it's not just about you. And even this whole, like, listen, I think it's the most selfish decision to have kids just to want to extend your bloodline. If that's the only reason, is in, like, you don't then plan on actually making that bloodline a strong one to be continued. Just to say, oh, I have now we've got another one of me. So I'm saying men need to stop naming their sons after themselves if they're not going to actually show up to be the type of men that they want their sons to be. Same with women. Like, don't just be having kids because, oh, I always wanted to have kids. Why did you want to? Do you plan on nurturing them and looking after them? Or do you just like the idea of having matching outfits? Or do you just think it'll be fun to get all the attention to throw a baby shower and to throw a 10th birthday party, right? Or to be part of the mums groups, right? What is your reasoning? Because, like, this whole terrible twos thing is really, really grinds my gears every time I hear people talk about terrible twos. If your child is asking you why, and you stop that, you've just right there, you have probably prevented in the very much long term that child developing critical thinking skills and have made it significantly harder for them. Because if they were good at understanding and the thing is, well, working with kids, especially ones who are quite intelligent, I've noticed, if when they ask you why questions, you answer them honestly, they'll take it. So, like, for example, sometimes kids will have asked me, like, I just don't understand why I have to go to school, and I don't understand why I have to do this. And rather than just say, you say to know what you're told and shut up and fall in line, right? I'll engage in a conversation about it. So, okay, first things first, well, you're not at a stage yet where you get to make all the decisions for yourself. So that's stage one. You don't fully understand the things that you need to exist in this life. One day you're going to need to look after yourself, and you may not be aware of all the things that you need to know and all the skills you need to have. Like, we get into these conversations, you know what I'm saying? About, whatever, because obviously a lot of them, they think they know because they're kids. They're lacking in wisdom. They don't know any better, and it just doesn't make sense to them. They're not trying to be delinquent. They're not trying to be against people. They don't understand why. They're like, I don't understand why I have to be here. That's what they're saying. They're saying exactly what they mean. I don't understand why I have to be here. Okay, maybe help them to understand. That's a good thing, because then they can think for themselves. If there's anything I would want my children to have, right, and this is why I journal a lot, right, because I want to give all my journals to my children, is for them to have the ability, if there's anything I can teach them that's more important than anything, is the ability to think for themselves and think critically, right? Know how to ask questions and know how to ask good questions as well, right? Because you'll be surprised. I explained to them, like, one of the kids was like, I don't understand why I have to do all of this. Look, I've already figured out I want to do this. Because a lot of them have. Like, I remember there was one kid that I had who's already been working on video editing. They already edit videos, upload it online. And I'm like, do you know what? I feel you. If it was up to me, I wouldn't say they shouldn't do in any education, because there are core skills that you need to know, But then I show them. There's one thing I do with the kids. It's a great tool that I use. And it's the lemonade stand game, right? And I remember we played it in school. It's online. It's on Cool Maths. You guys can search. See, there's so many good free resources that, like, if the money wasn't going, if you guys aren't paying your money, wasting your money going to the government who's putting in these schools that are not even looking after your kids, the kids could be doing so much better. So there's this game I use with the kids. It's called the Lemonade Stand game, and it's just like it's a very old game, right? I say this is a very old game because it was already old even by the time I was playing it when I was at school, and I use it with the kids. It's one of the games I use in maths to, like, when I'm just talking to them, to observe how they like, to observe how they think, right? And all it is you start off with $20 and you're going to run a lemonade stand, right? And so every day you buy your stock, the cups, you got cups, sugar, lemon, and ice, right? You're told what the weather forecast is going to be the next day. You can select your recipe as to how you want to do it, how much sugar, how much whatever. Then you start the day. And the only thing you can change throughout the day is the price, right? And then you get to see the customers, they walk by. It's a very basic game. The customers, they walk by and they can show these little signals to tell you. So they can either say it needs more ice. They can say they love the price. They can say they think it's too expensive. They think it's too sweet. They think the recipe is perfect, whatever, right? And then you see how many potential customers, then you get a quick little evaluation at the end, how many customers you had, how many people came across your stand, how many people actually bought it, what's your success rate, and you move on to the next day. So at the start, you choose either to do 7, 14, or 21 days. Very simple game. And then you just keep going through the days. And my goal, I say to them, is all their first goal ever is to finish with a profit, right? Finish the week with more than what they started. Cool. The price is also changed by the day, and they also have to take into account things like ice, and the ice can melt, all these different things. Their lemons could rot. And the reason why I play this game with kids is because what people don't realize is you as an adult have a lot of context. They don't. So to them, the concept of running a lemonade stand is, oh, I just make some lemonade, like take a table and I'll just pour it and give it to customers. All these other little things that they have to consider. It's so interesting watching them start to think about the other things that they were maybe not thinking about, such as stocking up every day. The type of weather, how the weather changes things. It's a hotter day, so do I need to change the recipe? It's a colder day, so I need to do this. I need to think about stock. I need to think about this. And so all of a sudden, they start to realize that, and this is a tool that I use, that rather than shoving down their throat to just listen to me because I said so, I will just put them on something like this. And I'll even go against them. I do that all the time. I go against the kids all the time to prove to them that, hey, look, maybe there's a reason that I'm in this position and you're over there. And now we know why. But you know what? They're satisfied. Some of the most badly behaved kids at that point, badly behaved again. I don't like to call kids badly behaved either. Not because I'm like some kind of like soft whatever. I just feel like it makes it so quick. You end up like just writing somebody off as opposed to finding there's an actual problem and the solution, and there hasn't been a solution found. There's just been a Band-Aid just slapped on top of it. It's like, no, let's find the solution if there's something else going on here. And if you're a smart kid, to be honest, the school system doesn't make any sense to you. If you're a smart kid, a lot of the things in the world don't make... If you're smart, a lot of things don't actually make sense in the world. So this is what I'm saying, this whole thing, and it's incredible when you play these games with the kids because they realize, because the way that they choose to play, they'll think, oh, just rush through it and I just won't pay attention. No. I'm like, oh, you're broke on day 3. Oh dear. So maybe we need a bit more strategy. Maybe when I'm telling you to slow down, and that's how I reference it back to the work. I'm like, so sometimes I'm telling you to not work, that working really fast isn't always the best thing. Now you know why. Right? When I'm telling you to pay attention and double check things before you continue, now you know why. And now, because they also have a reference point and a reasoning, that lesson is something that they can take away forever in life. And now they've actually got something valuable. Now they're not just blindly doing something and everybody's clapping for them because they're like this really, really good little flipping, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. Circus monkey, obedient circus monkey, right? Yay, well done. You did exactly what we told. Now they actually have the skills to apply themselves in real life, because then now when something else happens, anything else happens, they're going to think, you know what? I might need to think a little bit more into this than what I'm thinking. I need to think into this. Maybe if somebody says something to me, maybe there's a reason that they know something and they've noticed something that I haven't noticed. And it's all because of a game that, ironically, the adult population would think, why is this teacher wasting time with this game with the kids? In my day, we didn't have to do that. Yeah, in your day, they were doing lobotomies, mate. This is what I'm saying. This stuff just makes me laugh. And so, yeah, but the terrible twos thing doesn't, because it makes me really sad. Because I'm like, kids are like, it's so young, already being just like, you know, judged and like sidelined and like told that they're the problem just because that they want to think for them, just because they're now coming into the world. Like, imagine how scary that is. Like, you wouldn't be conscious of it at the time, obviously, but if we all look back now, we can think about it. You've just been thrust into the world. You couldn't see for like all this other time where you could hear stuff, and this person that you could hear, you can now see, and you can now also see what they're doing. And now it's also interesting, like, why are you actually even doing that? And like, what's even happening here? And how what? And how come they can walk, but I'm trying to get onto my 2 feet, but I can't get up onto my 2 feet? Why can't I get up onto my 2 feet right now? You know what I'm saying? And I'm hugging, and what does this thing taste like? That just, I don't know if I like that taste or if I don't like that taste. That's a little bit strange. That's a weird texture. I've never had that taste. Because all the stuff that we're used to experiencing in life as adults is something that we didn't have in the beginning. It's something that's happened slowly over time. And that's what I feel like with adults. I feel like the older you get, and this is a genuine fear I have, I'm so scared that I'm going to become tone deaf like a lot of the adult population, where it's almost like I forget that I was ever a child. Because when people say, how are you so good with kids? I'm like, I just think about what it was like for myself as when I was a kid. I just put myself in their shoes. How would I feel at that age? How would I feel in that situation? That's all that I do. And then I go off of that. If I was a kid in school being told, I have a question about this and I don't get this, I'll just say, well, why is that? I would want to know why. You know what I mean? If I didn't get it, then what am I supposed to do? And then how am I supposed to even remember what to do if I'm just being told what to do? So then it just becomes a memory test. And it's like society has created intelligence to just be a memory test. Just memorize the rules. Memorize the rules and that's it. And that's so sad. But anyways, I'm gonna leave that there, you guys, because if life's a game, like if life's a game that's pay to win, listen, I can't with this terrible two thing. I can't. Anyways, life's a game that's pay to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.